What Jennifer did. The perfect lie. The Jennifer Pan story. The room was small, the air was thick, and for the first time, Jennifer Pan had nowhere left to lie. They say truth sets you free. But in that room, truth was the trap. And Jennifer Pan walked right into it. She thought she could control the story. But the story started talking back. This time, it was the truth. The room was small, gray walls, one chair, one table, one clock. The kind of room that doesn't hold sound, only time. Jennifer Pan sat there for the third time in 11 days. The first 2 interviews had been stories, polished, practiced, believable. But now she faced Detective William Goetz. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse. He simply waited. "Jennifer," he said softly, "we know what happened. Only you can fix what's left of it." The words floated, gentle but heavy. Goetz called it the truth pressure technique. Give the suspect control, let the silence do the rest. And in that silence, Jennifer began to fall apart. She tried to cry. Her chest rose, breath quickened, but no tears came. Her eyes darted to the mirror, then to the floor, then back again. A performance rehearsed one time too many. She shifted in her seat, straightened her sleeves, drew slow, calculated breaths. Every movement precise, the body language of someone building emotion, not feeling it. For 6 hours, Goetz circled the same questions. Her answers repeated, then warped, then cracked. Finally, the pattern collapsed. Jennifer lowered her head. A small exhale. And then, the sentence that ended her own illusion. "I wanted it to stop. I asked him to make it stop." 16 words. The quietest confession in a case built on noise. When she spoke, she didn't beg or bargain. She explained, calmly. Daniel Wong, she said, had helped her. It was supposed to be her father, not her mother, but messages told another story. The hitmen were promised $10,000. The plan was detailed down to the minute. Detectives laid the phone records on the table, timestamps glowing under fluorescent light, 100 texts on the day of the crime, 10:02 p.m., door unlocked, 10:08 p.m. Everything is ready, 10:32 p.m., the 911 call. It was all there, digital footprints through the dark, every message aligned with the gunfire that ended her mother's life. Experts later reviewed the footage frame by frame. Her pulse barely changed, her gestures symmetrical. A perfect blend of logic and mimicry, what psychologists call pseudo-empathy under cognitive load. She could read every emotion in the room, the pity, the suspicion, the fatigue, but she couldn't feel any of them. The interrogators would later say she cried for control, not for guilt. Goetz saw it too. When she finally whispered her confession, her shoulders dropped, not in sorrow, but in relief. It was over. The role, the perfection, the lie, all of it. "It's over, Jennifer," he said, and she nodded, faintly smiling as if released. Weeks later, the video of that interrogation leaked online. Millions watched the girl in the gray hoodie sit in silence, crying without tears, pausing at perfect intervals, measuring every breath. The internet called it one of the most haunting interrogations ever recorded. Because it didn't show anger or grief, it showed emptiness. For some, it was proof of guilt. For others, proof of trauma. But for the detectives who'd spent nights decoding her lies, it was simply clarity. "She cried without tears," Goetz said. "That's when I knew." After that day, Jennifer stopped pretending. She led police through the messages, the payments, the plans. Her cooperation sealed her own conviction. and Daniels, and the men she'd never even met face to face. In the reports that followed, one psychologist wrote, "She didn't cry for forgiveness. She cried for control," and another added, "When the truth came, it sounded almost like relief." The perfect daughter was gone. What remained was a quiet figure in a gray room, staring at the wall where her reflection used to be. She lied to survive, then survived to lie, until truth became the only thing left to perform. The courtroom was cold, white light, wooden benches, and a silence that felt like distance. 4 years had passed since the night of the call. Now, Jennifer Pan sat in the defendant's chair, her hands folded neatly in her lap. To her right, Daniel Wong, the boy who once promised freedom. Behind them, Lenford Crawford, David Milvaganam, and the echo of Eric Carty, tried separately but tethered to the same plan. The trial began in March 2014, Ontario Superior Court. 10 months of evidence, witnesses, and the slow reconstruction of every lie. By winter, the air inside the courtroom felt heavier than grief. The Crown's case was precise, methodical. They called her the architect. They projected her messages on the wall, door unlocked. Everything is ready. Don't forget, same plan. After 10, each timestamp aligned with the sound of a gunshot. Each message erased another excuse. In his closing argument, the prosecutor faced the jury and said, "This wasn't a moment of panic. It was a plan of patience." The phrase hung in the room like fog. Her lawyers painted a different picture. A daughter suffocating under control, a girl raised in fear of imperfection. They spoke of emotional coercion, of years without freedom. She was manipulated, they said. She wanted the fear to stop, not their lives. But the data on the screens, the 911 call, the staged panic, none of it wept when it should have. Jennifer sat motionless throughout. No tears, no tremors. Her face a perfect still frame. One journalist wrote, "She looked like someone watching her own story being told." Her father, Hui Han Pan, sat a few rows away. He never once looked at her. The courtroom lights reflected in his glasses. The distance between them felt like years. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady, stripped of everything but truth. "When I lost my wife, I lost my daughter the same night." Then, quieter. "One day I may forgive her, but I will never see her again." December 2014, 10 months, 10 jurors, 10 years of deception reduced to one word: guilty. Jennifer Pan, first-degree murder and attempted murder. Sentence, life imprisonment, no parole for 25 years. Daniel Wong, Crawford, Milvaganam, the same. Eric Carty, tried later, met the same fate in 2018. As the decision was read, Jennifer didn't flinch. No shock, no plea. Only the faintest blink, the last performance of control. Her father rose to leave before the judge finished speaking. When the door closed behind him, the story of the perfect daughter ended for good. Outside, the media waited. Cameras, rain, flashes. Headlines the next morning read, "Tiger Daughter Murder Trial. The Girl Who Faked Perfection." Across Canada, the story spread beyond the courtroom. Some saw a monster, others saw a mirror. Communities debated tiger parenting, the price of perfection, the thin line between discipline and destruction. Academics wrote papers, parents whispered prayers. And still, Jennifer Pan sat in silence, serving a sentence measured not in years, but in echoes. She built her life out of lies and lived in it. The trial was never about proof. It was about pattern. Every word, every text, every calm breath was another tile in a mosaic of control. And when the gavel fell, it didn't just convict a woman, it convicted an idea that love earned through fear could ever last. There will be no family to go home to. Morning light drifts across gray concrete. Behind the narrow window of the Grand Valley Institution for Women, a young woman sits at a desk, a pen in her hand, a life paused in echo. Jennifer Pan will be eligible for parole in 2035. Until then, her world is measured in corridors, letters that never arrive, and the quiet hum of a life reduced to routine. She keeps to herself, the reports say, reads, writes, avoids cameras. To some, she's a ghost of a story they once watched. To others, a reminder of what fear can build when love is conditional. Her father, Hui Han Pan, sold the family home long ago. He lives quietly now in another town, his days structured the way his life used to be, without music, without visitors, without her. In his victim impact statement, he said, "Bitch loved Jennifer more than anything. She died believing her daughter was good. He has spoken only once since the verdict. When I wake up, I remember two things. My wife is gone, and my daughter is not the person I thought she was. The rest is silence." Outside the prison walls, the case lives on, in documentaries, podcasts, and endless retellings across the internet. In 2024, Netflix released What Jennifer Did, and once again her face filled the screen. Calm, analytical, unreadable. Viewers argued online, was she a villain or a victim, a manipulator, or the product of impossible pressure? Academics called it a mirror for a generation. Essays questioned tiger parenting, the cost of excellence, the loneliness of children raised to never fail. She could read every emotion, one psychologist wrote, but couldn't feel a single one. This story no longer belongs to Jennifer Pan alone. It belongs to every family that mistakes fear for discipline, every child who learns that silence is safer than truth. It reminds us that control without compassion is just another form of captivity. In every culture that worships perfection, there will be another Jennifer, someone building a lie beautiful enough to believe in. A quiet house, a piano untouched, a father's footsteps fading down an empty hallway. Somewhere, a clock ticks, the same sound that once guided a daughter's every move, and in a cell miles away, the same rhythm continues. Tick, tick, tick. She looks out the small window, sees her reflection faintly mirrored in the glass, and whispers to herself, not a prayer, but something closer to recognition. Once, I lied to be free. Now, truth is the only thing that visits me. The Jennifer Pan story was never just about murder. It was about expectation, about the quiet war between love and control. Because when affection becomes conditional, truth becomes optional. And sometimes, the most dangerous prisons are the ones built inside the home. Some echoes never fade because they're still waiting to be understood. Sometimes, a lie doesn't just hide the truth, it replaces it. And when that illusion finally breaks, there's nothing left to hold on to, not even the people we loved. Jennifer Pan remains behind bars, her story, a mirror of what perfection can cost, because the echoes of a lie never really fade. He walked on to Flight 305 with a black briefcase and a plan no one could predict. Minutes after takeoff, he demanded $200,000 and then vanished into the storm. Next on True Echoes, the Sky Heist, the mystery of D.B. Cooper. Every secret waits to be revealed. Every silence that carries an echo. Every story is waiting to be told. This was her secret. What about yours? What do you think about this case? Share your thoughts in the comments. Every voice matters. Subscribe and step into the echoes of truth.